my mother was the instigator, the life of the party, so just like Reverend said today, Father Jojo, this is a celebration. And on behalf of my sister Paula and my brother Frank, I'm Beth, I'm the older daughter. I can't help but notice the beautiful artwork that was around here, and wanted to thank everybody who knew Mom from the Estates. The water aerobics people, I don't think they'll ever forget the frog. My mother always did a double time, I'm told. And the art group, and I know my dad was the treasurer, and we had his service here also. Wanted to thank each of you personally who, in this very sad time, gave whatever you could. You just shook our hands at the line at the church. We haven't had a chance to talk yet. But those special looks, just a simple, holding. I wanted to thank everyone who gave a covered dish, who offered sheets and blankets, who offered us a room, a seat at their table. We had a beautiful dinner last night. The people here who helped with when we came here, everything was all arranged. Wanted to thank my Aunt Paula for her help with putting the program together, and my Uncle John was involved in that, and my cousins from traveling from Colorado, and then the Catholic side of the family, my cousin Janie, and my cousin Chris, and Danny all helped with the little tweaks, with the program. I was opening a drawer this morning looking for a hanky. Geez, if I had found my dad's hankies, that would be nice to kind of tuck in and, to do this. And when I opened the drawer of the cabinet, there was a list this long of all the people. And I think most of you are mentioning this. When my father died, she had this list of thank yous that she wrote in very small handwriting. She didn't like to waste a lot of sheets of paper. Most of us would have taken 10 sheets. But each one of you I'm looking at, I see in somewhere, it's not here now, from 2005, and there's so many of you in this community that have taken her in and loved her over these last 20 years, and again, it's a long list, it would be 10 pages, but I hope to come around and thank you each, sometime today. I also want to thank my brother for all the hard work that he's done in pulling this together and doing all the tough things that big brothers are there for. So I'm really glad that he's here, and Patrick and Megan are also a tremendous help and very much loved by their grandmother. And then all the technology help that I'm getting from my cousin here, hey Richard, and my cousin Pete. And again, thanks to Catherine and Danny for bringing up the gifts today. And I also wanted to thank my kid sister. I think it's been tough on her. She's been quite a little tornado, just whipping up things and organizing things. And we were grateful to have Aunt Paula help her through all this time too. There was a lot of organization going into that. And so thank you. I'm trying to think if there's a story I could tell you about my mother, maybe something that you didn't know. And one thing that came to mind was my friend over here. My mother took her to her birthday right before her last month in June. And the Father Jojo talked about how she helped the people at St. Vincent's who were poor, or the people in the hospital who were sick. But some of you don't know this, but they also adopted 3 of us. And so I don't know if all of you knew that. Back then they tried to match the ethnicity. My mother was 100% German, and there's a lot of that her sensibility that goes on with that. And the other thing I don't think that a lot of people know about my mother is just how close she and Dad got at the end with her taking care of her hospice at the end, and that it had to have that intimate relationship with somebody at the end. Is a beautiful thing, and they got really close. And thank you to everybody who was there at the end and who helped. Thank you, the people particularly there that were there, in the last couple of weeks to help out. The only other thing that I guess I'd like to say is, I don't know, I think my mother is such a go-getter. I'd like to say about my mother, she wasn't a human being, she was a human doing. And she always, she's in a better place because she always felt she lived better off in the 19th century. So all this technology and everything was it may sound like an oxymoron, but she had a wonderful death. And to all of you who were there for her, thank you. And for her life, this is a great celebration. Thank you all for your participation.
I've been kind of jotting down notes on learning things I wanted to say, so it might sound a little bit disjointed. I apologize. Not need to go over it either. Okay. Mom's full of energy and lived life to its fullest. Some of my favorite memories include Mom swimming in the Atlantic Ocean in Maine. I think the water temperature was about 50 degrees, and it goes without saying, but the rest of us watched. We did that for several years. I remember hiking up Acadia National Park. She and I hiked the trail up the mountain. It was a lot of fun. I remember skating at the pond behind our house in Concord. Mom was always enthusiastic, always wanted to go skating. She was always raring to go, trying to plead with us. Come on, we're going. We did. We most of the time went with her. Swimming at and hiking around Candice Lake. Remember that. Our visits to Florida, and Mom loved to show us around. I remember a deep sea fishing trip I went on with my mother when she first moved down here. I remember going to Tarpon Springs. My mother taking the kids to Busch Gardens, Universal Studios. I came down here in February. Mom was good then. And the first thing that Mom asked me was, she asked me what I wanted to do. It was what I wanted to do, not what she wanted to do. And so the first day we went to a Chinese buffet for lunch. And we spent the rest of that first day looking at model houses in new development. Kind of into that, I don't know why. But she liked it. I was always amazed at Mom's energy level. We moved around something like 10 times. And most of these moves, Mom was packing. All the others in the house. And one mover told her that it's the best packing job he'd ever seen. She did all the little things, or maybe I shouldn't say little, but she did all the things that went along with those moves, 10, 12 times. She got us kids started at school. She, registered the cars, got the driver's license. As you can imagine, all the work that goes into doing that, so many times. I don't think I ever once heard her complain, ever, about doing all that work. Paula, you can attest to that. At the cottage, Mom was a workhorse there too. I remember helping her cut some small trees, around the property, to kind of keep the view down, so you can kind of keep a view. And I remember once, I remember helping her, and I think I was more tired than she was, and I'm 30 years younger. I wanted everyone to know, it goes without saying, but how much she loved her family and friends. It meant a lot to her that we were a close family. I think a testament to that is all of her nieces and nephews down here traveling from Rochester, Colorado, Indiana. Sorry, I read my scribble here. And of course, my aunt, her sister Paula, traveling here from Ohio, helping, was by Mom's side. at the end, as well as my uncle and Mom's brother, and John. All his love and support, and he was there as well at the end. I also wanted to let my sister Paula know how grateful I am that she was able to kind of put her life on hold and move down here to help my mother, provide comfort for her. And Mom told me when I was down there for about a month ago, for a few days. Mom told me, I would say at least a dozen times, how grateful she was that Paula, was down there with her. Like I said, it's still about out of order about these things. Also, Mom was generous with her money and her time, and she was a terrific listener, something I probably need to work on myself. But she always remembered us kids and the grandkids at birthdays and holidays and special occasions. Always with a hand-painted kind of a card. She hand-painted the front of it. I'm so thankful Mom was able to travel up to Rochester back in June of this year. She attended my son's high school graduation, visited with many family and friends, and only a short 2-week time period. She enjoyed her retirement years here in Florida, in large part because of the terrific friends that she made here, and who are here today, that she made over the years. We all missed her back north, but we were, knowing that she was enjoying herself down here was, comforting to us. And just I'll have to say that we're just really missed by everybody, and thank everybody for coming here.
I'm not so bad at the so.
Well, you know my handwriting.
Sadly, I have lost not only my mother, but one of my best friends, my very best friends. I will miss our many weekly phone calls when I would actually reach Mom between her water aerobics, painting class, volunteering, and all of Mom's different activities, hourly, daily, and weekly. With me working full-time, Mom had a much better social life than myself for many years. Mom lived every day, as many of you know, from way before sunrise to way past sunset. Those visiting Mom heard the dishes and silverware being put away just about 6 a.m. daily. No joke. Mom always thought she was quiet. Me, being the shy daughter, told Mom that she was about as quiet as a jackhammer putting the dishes away. If Mom was up, everybody was up. I'm thankful there are decades of wonderful memories. I will keep close to my heart my wonderful mother and father who gave me unending love and guidance for 48 years. Mom's love of Candidice Lake, gardening, nature, independence, strength, and smile. She really loved living in Hudson and great times with all of you, her friends here. Thank you for enriching Mom's life in Florida during Dad's life and after Dad's life. Staying down here in the Estates for a while. You all are going to be a great reminder of Mom and make these hard days and weeks just a little bit easier. Thank you very much for your help.
I just want to read you a letter that I wrote this past summer to her. Okay. It's dated July 18th. Okay. Dear Granny, right now is certainly a sad time for everyone in our family. Seeing you suffering and in pain is very difficult. It's the last thing we ever want for you. However, I want you to know that I'm thinking of you and praying for your comfort. I just want to share with you some of my favorite memories. Okay, and I just have a list. 1, summers at the cottage. These were some of the best times of my childhood. I loved the rocket stomp, skipping stones, horseshoes, croquet, barbecues, the baby pool, bacon in the morning, and so many more things that come to mind. 2, looking for the horses on parade. I still have the picture book of all the horses. Every time I see one of the remaining horses around Rochester, I think of you. 3, our great nighttime discussion. As I got older, it was really great to have deep conversations with you. I enjoyed them very much. 4, your German potato salad. No Suter summertime picnic was complete without the potato salad. I love that stuff. 5, visits to Florida. My visit this past March is the freshest in my mind. I had a great time on that trip. It was so nice to spend time with you and enjoy Universal Studios. I also enjoyed trips to the pool, Pine Island, Publix, and evening afternoons spent lounging on the lanai. I even remember that time when I fell back on the metal track of the sliding doors and cracked my head open. Not the best of memories, but certainly one that sticks out. 6, hiking, and outdoor activities in general. I know these were some of your favorite things to do. I remember afternoon treks to Cummings Nature Center, to hear the frogs and watch the birds, hikes around the lake, and even trips to Lake Ontario. Remember that time you and I were at the beach boardwalk and we saw the old guy in a Speedo doing figure skating turns? It actually happened. I think I got it on videotape too. Grammy, certainly there are more memories that come to mind. The beautiful watercolor cards you sent each holiday, your love of Broadway and classical music, Christmas at our house with Mary and Aunt Paula, the Straw Museum, the Rochester Museum and Science Center, your love of books. I could go on forever. I just want you to know that I will cherish each of these memories forever. They are so special to me. Love, Megan.
I just want Frank to know that he forgot his glasses. Sometimes even with glasses it doesn't help. So I was very impressed with the service today with Father Jojo. His opening remarks about Mary Anne being a friend really struck home. She's not only been a friend to you, but to the whole family. She's a very strong German stock woman, and she took charge of everything she did. I think Frank Sinatra's I Do It My Way. Maybe he played the backup today, I don't know. She's always a famous one, too. Oh, that's true. She also, I think, was blessed with very strong opinions. She never hesitated to express them, and that's fine. And while she and Frank usually agreed on most things, it wasn't unusual to have sparks fly on occasion about politics and sports. Now, I remember one time when they were living in New Jersey, and Frank had a peakish way about him of winding her up and pushing the wrong button, or right button, depending on your point of view. And we were in the family, my wife and I were in the family room with him, and Mary Anne was making dinner. And he has the newspaper, and he puts it up so she can't see him, and he says, "Watch this." And so he puts the paper down, and he says, "Social Security." And that was it for the next 25 minutes. There was a doorway between the kitchen and the living room, and the air was blue. It was just, I mean, it was so deliberate and so predictable. It was just absolutely comical. My brother was a very big sports fan and politics as well, and she grabbed onto that, and they enjoyed that a lot, I think, during their life. What's surprising to me is after he passed, she seemed to lose interest in both sports and politics, and I never quite fully understood why. She was a voracious reader. For someone who went through high school and all, she had a great love and a great knowledge of classical music, of classical authors and books, and there wasn't anything that she wouldn't read or that she thought would enrich her or something, and she was excellent at that. I think under the title of friend comes caretaker. She certainly did that with my brother. He was diagnosed in October of '95 with esophageal cancer, and we were moved, or I was moved to Florida 3 weeks later, which I always thought was very providential. And we had a long, happy time together. But she took care of everything. I will never forget her pushing him in a wheelchair uphill and down dale through bush gardens. And it was not more than once that happened. It was on a regular basis. And I mean, it was really amazing to see the love that she had from him. And neither one of them wanted hospice workers, nothing against them, but she said she was going to take care of it, and by God, she did. Up to the day he died, there was never anybody in the house to take care of him except her. So that goes without notice. And I think Paula picked up a little of that. She got out of the car, put her feet on the ground, and she was going ever since she was here to take care of Mary Anne in such a beautiful way. It was a great thing to see. The only thing, Frank, I got to tell you that you were a little bit off. They moved 13 times. Oh my God. I picked that up. I sat down yesterday and numbered that all out. And you're right, she did every last thing herself. And God bless her, she was just wonderful. So I think it's about it. I know I will miss her. We used to go with some of you gals, go to the Ruth Eckerd Hall on Sunday nights and for the concerts, which she always enjoyed. And she was such a good cook and enjoyed putting on for all us, for the family, and I know I, for one, will miss her. Thank you.
About 2 weeks ago, my husband died in January. The pastor had said to me, "How are you doing, Paula?" And I said, "Really, I'm doing very well, but my sister isn't doing well." And I said, "You know, you only have one other person in your life who can share all of the things you've done from when you were little." And now I keep thinking, oh, why didn't I ask her about this? Did I remember this correctly? And of course, I can't do that anymore. But we used to have wonderful times talking, and because she was such a late night person too, I would usually call her about 10:30 at night, and we'd talk for an hour, and we'd talk about movies and books that we had written. I sort of thought about Mary Anne today, though, and I thought, you know, she was a terrific hostess. When she had you over for dinner, she just had, you know, twice of everything. And I'm looking at the table today and thinking, oh, we were a little skimpy on sandwiches. I love Mary Anne, never would have went there. But we just had so many wonderful things to share. She moved around about as many times as we did, and just such a wonderful friendship. Of course, when we were young, you know, there wasn't much of a friendship. You know? 4 years older, and you know, because she was older, she got away with, well, she was able to sort of tell me what to do, but she used to bite her nails, and I didn't. So my nails were my comeback.
So did the two of you share a bedroom?
Oh yeah, oh well, of course. What do you mean share a bedroom? I'm old enough that we didn't do anything but share bedrooms in my era. And it's just hard to remember them all, but I sure would miss her.
So, my Aunt Mary and Uncle Frank, they were just the parents of my cousins. You know, every year when we got together, it was all about Frankie, Beth, and Paula. It wasn't really about Aunt Mary and Uncle Frank. You know, and gosh, she was always there, but it was, you know, I loved going and hanging out with my cousins when we were growing up, and going to the cottage and getting dirty and just having fun. But it was always great when our families got together. So honestly, it wasn't until when Uncle Frank was getting sicker, and I wanted my boys to know them the way I knew them. And so we took a trip here about, 9 years ago or so, before, Uncle Frank was still alive. And it was during that trip that I really felt like I got to know Aunt Mary a little bit more, and got to see how similar she is to my mom. I was amazed. Always the difference in politics. Yeah. Don't go there. And I guess maybe there was a little rivalry around driving, that my boys declared that Aunt Mary is definitely a better driver than my mom. Although I must admit, I think it was pretty close. The fast driving, the quick moves, and
The optional stop signs.
optional stop signs. Yes. It's amazing they didn't get more tickets than they did between the pair of them. Another thing I really, really appreciated, and I see this in my mom and Aunt Mary, was the time that she spent. And sitting there watching Aunt Mary play cards with Joshua and Noah was really cool. You know, just taking time out. I mean, there's always a million things to do in life, but sitting down and just playing a card game. I saw some cards on the slideshow there, some card games, and you know, those are special times just to hang out with family. And she made time for that. She made that a priority, and you know, you can't replace that. You can't ever go back and do it again. So my sons, Joshua and Noah, I wish they were here today. They would love to be here. They love their great Aunt Mary. And my wife, Beverly, all send their regards and love and hugs and kisses from Colorado. Thank you.
I too had great childhood experiences with visiting Frank, Beth, and Paula, and Aunt Mary and Uncle Frank. It wasn't until I moved away and started my work career after college, and I moved to Chicago. And I was all alone, and it was pretty scary. And then Frank and Mary Anne were transferred, and Paula at that time. I don't think Beth and Frank were there, right? You guys were at the house when your parents moved to Milwaukee?
Yeah, no, we were not.
Yeah. So it was only 90 miles south, and I would go up like for weekends. And when you think of Milwaukee, what do you think of? Beer. Yeah. So there are all sorts of breweries in Milwaukee. We found our favorite. So it got to be, I would almost not get in the house and get get a seat, and Mary Anne would say, "Let's go to the brewery." Now you had to take the tour, learned all about how they made beer, but the best part was the tasting room and the polka band. Good German woman, and we just have a blast. And then I met my husband, and we'd go up there, and we'd always go to the brewery. So I really got to know Frank and Mary Anne as friends at that time. And then it just transferred, just as Peter said, when my kids were born, and we would spend time together. She always took the extra step and had gifts for them, or had the stomp rocket. We were introduced to the stomp rocket through Mary Anne. And as a parent, as I'm sure many of you know, about the best gift you can give is to love their kids. And my kids loved her, and Uncle Frank, and I am eternally grateful for that, and it's given me a great example as I patiently wait for my own grandchildren.
Okay, well, about the second day we moved in here 20 years ago, I saw Mary Anne walking down the street from Water Works, and I thought, oh, there's a person I'd like to get to know. And I did get to know her. And we had a wonderful time. We ushered together at Turner Ridge for years. We went to concerts at Coachman Park in Clearwater and Noah in St. Petersburg. The Florida Orchestra concerts we always went to. And of course, we did she and I were the only two left of the original art group that Jimmy Stiles started years ago. You know, I guess it's just me. But anyway, we had lots of wonderful times together. And of course, for 20 years we stood in the same spot.
Should we tell them we haven't lost an ounce?
No. And my daughter says, we never lost an ounce. Very good time. Anyway, it was wonderful. And I feel very blessed to have known her and had her as a friend.
My wife was one of her best friends, and I thought we could get a few words out of her, but maybe not.
I didn't know Mary Anne until after Frank died. I played bridge with Frank on Monday nights, and I got to know Mary Anne. I think the first time I met Mary Anne was June and John had asked me to go to Busch Gardens with them, and Mary Anne went. And ever since then, we've been good friends. We did water aerobics together, and I loved to kid her about being the pool director, and she was in charge. And then I had the privilege of going to Rome with her, and we had a wonderful, wonderful time. 8 o'clock in the morning, Mary Anne would be up, ready to go. Are you ready, she said. I said, no, we don't get on the bus till 9 o'clock. If we went down now, we'd stand outside the bus door and wait for them to open it at 9. I said, you go ahead, I'll meet you. So we had a lot of fun together. She lost her luggage the last day we were there, and she didn't get to go to dinner. We met some people from Plant City, and Mary Anne and I've had the privilege of getting together with her, so she's been a wonderful friend, and I'm really going to miss her, because she was the one I could call and say, do you want to go to the movies? or she would call me, "You want to see that movie?" Sure. So I'm really going to miss her.
I'm from Buffalo, New York, and it was really interesting listening to folks share their memories of Aunt Mary Anne. And Peter and Kathy, very similar to me, because my memories over the years and my experiences have changed to the same thing with my kids. We come in to see my mom and dad, and my dad in from Buffalo twice a year. And one of the things that we'd always do and have on the list, it would be, we'd go to Disney or take the kids to Legoland or Busch Gardens or whatever it was. And one of the things that we always did was Frank and Mary Anne. And that was one of the things that the kids look forward to. And I'll share a little bit with why. So one of the things we did a couple times was met Mary Anne over at Busch Gardens, and she took us all around. And Mom and Dad would hang out, and Mary Anne would run around with us and take us. You got to go over here. Have you been here? Have you been there? And we're all dragging, and she's running us around. And then we had lunch. And she's like, "Well, you got to have ice cream to the kids." And she bought the kids were just like this at the time. She gave them ice cream like this. And then the kids from then on was, "We're going to see Aunt Mary Anne? We're going to see Aunt Mary Anne?" And one of the photos that was displayed is my kids with her, and they loved her too. So there's some amazing memories of Aunt Mary Anne, and that's just one that I want to share. Thanks.
Aunt Mary's odd child out. The one thing that I remember most about Aunt Mary was her conversations. It was always a smile in her voice, whether it was on the telephone or in person. I never heard anything but a smile and a joy every time she spoke to you. It doesn't matter what it was about, whether she was teaching me something in the kitchen or just talking to me about cleaning up after myself. It was always a smile. It's like, okay, let's get this done together. And I think that's the greatest memory I have, is her teaching togetherness and enjoying every moment for what it is, a moment. Whether it's bad or good, it's always something positive out of it. And I think that's what I miss most, is just hearing that, her voice, saying, "Hi, Rich, how are you?" Just that simple, caring, concern, and smile and joy and love for you, regardless of what's going on around. Even at her worst times, she still was at that level that few people ever get to, of being able to smile all the time.
Staff here, and I think what I'm going to do is I have this on a flash drive, and I'll give one of my sisters, so some people have asked about the photographs. So Paula's going to be living on here, so if anybody wants a copy of this, we'll have that for you. Thanks for coming, guys. Thanks for your comments.